And hello, welcome back to Creativity with Don Allen III Live. My name's Don, and welcome to Never Stop Learning. We learn new stuff, new skills every day, always trying to future-proof ourselves. Today we're going to be taking a 3D model that I made inside of Gravity Sketch. That is a VR application. I made this sketch in here, this 3D model, based off of this sketch that I found online. I really liked this kind of geometry, this structure, and I decided to add to it and make some little adjustments of my own. So we're going to be taking this 3D model and finding a way to get this thing up and running into an AR filter that we can try on in Lens Studio. We'll also be trying our best to add physics to these chords. So these are like almost like, serpents. So that is what the plan is right now. And we'll just get right to it. I'm going to try to live stream onto Instagram simultaneously, and we'll see how that gets started. So again, welcome, and yeah, we'll learn some stuff. We're going to start off in Cinema 4D, do some UV unwrapping and some model preparation, and then we're going to be painting this in Substance Painter, so it should be pretty sweet. So let's do that. Go ahead and live stream here. All right, we're live streaming two places. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Creativity with Don Allen III Live. I want to say that I started doing my Never Stop Learning series on YouTube, and I'm streaming there right now. So if you want to join me at YouTube, today we're going to be working on turning this 3D model into a filter that we can wear inside of Lens Studio on Snap. We'll be adding animations to these little thingies. I kind of imagine them like USB cables coming out of this robotic head, and I'm going to add some animations to them that will be procedural animation that can be done inside of Lens Studio. When the person moves their head, I'm going to try to make it so that these kind of they move and stuff in response. I found this sketch online and on Pinterest. I really liked this model reference, and I liked how this concept art had like 3 different angles going around for it. And based on that, I kind of made a loose design and kind of made my own little changes to the geometry. So today we're going to be starting off in Cinema 4D, doing some model preparation, UV unwrapping, and then we're going to move that into Substance Painter, where we're going to paint this to look super realistic. And then we'll be, actually, Imaginary Lobo, could you write in the description, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Don's YouTube in full screen with a way better microphone, because that's what's happening. Look at this. We are actually streaming to YouTube right now in full screen mode. So that's sweet. So yeah, so you should join me up on YouTube to learn this stuff. This is part of the Never Stop Learning series on YouTube. Okay, here we go. We're going to start off and take a look at our model. Looks like it was broken up into a rather interesting layout. Kind of broke everything up into these model shapes. I'd rather bring this in by color. So I'm gonna overwrite this and tell it to merge by based off of color. So go to animation, no material, no, where is it? Divide edge breaks. Default axis should be y-axis. What am I missing here? Materials are standard. I feel like I'm missing something. Okay, well, I mean, it's not too hard just to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and start off by deleting my reference so that we're just left with the model. And we are live streaming to YouTube right now as we speak. So if you want the full screen version, join me on YouTube. You'll get the full screen everything and way better microphone quality. You'll see all the little tiny little buttons I'm pressing over here and there. We're inside of Cinema 4D. We're live on YouTube. I'm going to say that a zillion times because I'm trying to push more content to YouTube. But here we go. We got our model. This was made in VR using an application known as Gravity Sketch. Hey, what's up, Ernesto Lobo? I see you have joined us on the live stream on YouTube. I see you there. So thank you for joining me on YouTube. Really appreciate it, Ernesto. So we're going to start off and kind of break up this model into the necessary parts. So I'm going to grab all of these purple areas. These are kind of like my, I don't know, whatever that is. I'm going to grab all those purple areas, and with the purple areas all selected, I'm going to merge them all together. So I'm gonna first delete them, go onto a new layer, and I'm gonna do right click, connect objects and delete. So that just makes one layer of all that stuff. This is called model preparation. It's a good technique to do. Hey, what's up, Christian? Welcome on to YouTube. It's good to see you here. Thanks for joining me in the live on YouTube. Really appreciate that. I should maybe write that here and here. I'll say live on YouTube now. This is something I'm going to be doing a little bit more of in the future, where I'm going to start streaming more content to YouTube because it makes it more accessible and easier to read and yeah, all those kind of things. So I'm going to just put live on YouTube now. Okay, cool. Oh, we got a question from Ernesto Lobo. Says, is there a way for us to see your mouse with a halo and you see your clicks, maybe shortcuts? Ooh, if someone can look up software for me that does that, I will add it. I'll get it. I don't know what that software is right now, but you're right, that would help. Actually, let me see if that's something easy I can turn on. Make my mouse clicks visible on YouTube, or visible on CPU. Show location pointer when I press Control key. By activating this feature, you can quickly locate your mouse. Make the mouse pointer more visible in Windows PC. Windows for Dummies. Let's see. Oh wow, they have an option for that right in the system. Pointer trails. The display pointer trails option ghost has the mouse point. It doesn't look that pretty, but I like that idea. For those of you that are just tuning in, we're going to be turning this into an AR filter that you can wear on Lens Studio. I'm kind of just getting up and running. Does anyone know of a software that you can run that shows all of your mouse shortcuts? I guess I can just Google this. A software that displays all keyboard shortcuts. 10 best shortcut software for Windows 10. No. I'm going to say for live stream. This is Cinema 4D. Oh, there it is. It says maximize your live streaming with productivity hotkeys and ManyCam. Live streaming productivity with right click on the file, shortcuts. I need to maybe do that. I might need to set that up later because I don't know what to do. You said I searched keyboard shortcuts. You are maybe on the platform you're using to stream. Oh, I'm using OBS to stream right now. So let me see. OBS display shortcuts. Preview window shortcuts. How to use hotkeys OBS stream keys. Sorry, it kind of derailed things. I wanted to just jump into the stream. It will make the future streams better if we can do that. But for right now, I just wanted to. I have a limited amount of time. I just wanted to work on the filter. But if someone could research for me for my next streams how to display shortcuts on the screen, I'll definitely add it. But I can't set that up right now when I'm trying to do this 3D model. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to all these things and merge all the pink layers together. So I'm going to grab all of that, right click, and then go to connect objects and delete, and just move that up there. And then we have, this is kind of just the bottom parts. I'm going to connect those. So go ahead and connect objects and delete. And then we have the top and the bottom. I'm actually going to merge these two together to conserve on space. Or actually, should I leave it open? That if we leave these open, then we could animate them separately. But would I want to animate this? See, maybe this could be like moving up and down when someone talks. Might be kind of cool to program. Okay, I guess we'll keep it separate then. All right. So, so we're going to continue on, and I got all these things added here. And now that we have all these kind of grouped up into their own layers, the next thing I want to do is UV unwrap. So initially I had this idea of making a USB cable here, I don't think this looks like a USB cable at all, so I'm just going to Google the end of a USB cable again. So USB cable, and we're just going to maybe just model that really quickly in here. So there we go. I found a USB cable image, a nice close-up. A free program I use to show my reference footage on top of my screen at all time is called PureRef. You just drag your images in there, and these will live on top of your desktop at all times. And that is super sweet because then you could focus on, you know, your whatever application you're on and not have to go back and forth to see it. Okay, so to model a USB cable, I'm just going to start off with a cube. This is a gigantic cube. That's okay. I'm just going to keep it giant for now. I'm going to start off with the base shape, and then we're going to convert that down. I'm then going to grab my edges and then bevel them. So that's MS is the shortcut for that. I'm just going to bevel those. Okay, okay. Then we're going to go to the front here. We're going to grab the front face and go to extrude inner and create an inner extrusion there. Awesome. And then we'll extrude outer. Cool. So you already see the USB form kind of happening there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And we're just going to do a loop cut, 1, 2, right there, and then we'll do another loop cut. Actually, no, we don't need another loop cut. I'll just do a regular poly pen cut. And this is just to create some little openings into the model. So just kind of go to a top-down view here. Oh, I just changed the goofy mode. You ever play a video game where the up is down and right is left? I forgot how to undo that on Cinema 4D, but right now all my controls are backwards because I just pressed a weird hotkey. This has been happening a lot with this new keyboard I've been using. Is it fixed? Okay, I think it's fixed. No, it's not. It's wrong. It's the wrong direction. I'm just gonna work quickly. All right, so I made these little. Oh wow, it's gonna drive me nuts. It's like inverted. Let me see how to turn that off. Camera rotation is inversed. Cinema 4D. How do I turn that off? Reversed up down camera rotation. CG Talks Online says the solution for this is press Shift and V to bring up the viewport settings. Go to the View tab. Press the triangle linked camera. Zero out the camera's rotations. Okay. Press Shift V. Shift V. Ah, there we go. And then camera is linked. Set to projection type. That looks good. Press the little triangle in the linked camera. That thing. Okay. And then it says press the little triangle by link camera. Zero out the camera's rotations. Where is camera rotation? I don't see that option. Focal length. I guess I can just zero it out manually here. Okay, let's see if that fixed it. Okay, so let me focus in. Yay, it is fixed. Cool. All right, so I got this shape in here, and then what I'm going to do is leave that alone. I'll probably just do this as a texture on top of it, so maybe we don't even need to model more detail if we don't need to. And then on the back here, we're going to make a little extrusion, but it might even be best to do that with another cube. So take a cube, shrink it down, and push that towards the back, and bring that back up. Okay. I'm going to turn on wireframe. Sometimes it helps me to see wireframes when we're working. I'm okay if I lose my work on this puck. I don't think I've done too much work on this yet that I won't mind losing it all. Some weird reasoning, but I will save it once I get to the UVs. But until then, I think I'm okay losing all of this if it crashes. Okay, cool. We're just gonna put that against the back there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Then we're gonna take this and do the same thing. Just do a little extrusion. and take this and extrude this out quite far. All right, display lines, and let's extrude that out there. Weird how the camera vanishes. The clipping distance is pretty short. So to change that, I do Control D and I switch the clipping distance to huge, and then that way I can see things much further away. So I'm just going to extend the USB cord here. Cool, so we have a USB cord now. I'm going to get rid of my peer reference. We'll jump back into the live stream on YouTube, take a look at the comments. Okay, no questions are coming up there. All right, so this is just how we would model, like, a little thing like this. But I do want to rig this. So I want it to be able to move like a serpent attached to your head. It's pretty weird. What we're going to do to make it do that motion is we first need to do what's called a loop cut. A loop cut lets you go around the edges of a model, and it makes a loop. It makes a cut around the loop, around the edge. The reason why we need to add loops to our model, we need to add these cuts, is because we want our model to bend. If we didn't want the model to bend, then we don't need to add these loop segments. Think of this kind of like adding. You ever play with one of those like wooden snake toys that has like a bunch of different little segments? They sometimes have them at theme parks. It's like a little toy. It's like a wooden toy with a bunch of pieces of wood, attached to each other. And essentially, the thing can move like a snake because it has all of those segments. It's the same kind of idea here. So just by adding a few segments in here, we're going to be giving the model the ability to bend. All right, so now I'm going to connect the cable with the head of the USB port. So we're just going to grab both of these, go to full selection modes here. And yeah, so for those of you that are joining here on Instagram, we are live streaming onto YouTube right now, answering questions and being accessible in that place. Okay, so we're going to combine these. So connect objects and delete. It's probably my favorite feature in Cinema 4D. And then we're going to scale this whole thing down a lot. And then we're going to recenter it back into the world origin, if we can. Please do it. Oh, we got to move the anchor point. This anchor point is where it's going to get scaled from. So by moving it to the end of our model, we hit this button. It's going to move that right back to the center of our scene. And I still think our model is much too small, or actually, I don't even know. Let me go grab the object. Okay, so we don't even see our object because it's so tiny. So I'm going to grab everything. Okay, here's our model. And then our cable that we modeled is humongous. So I'm going to scale it down so that it's closer aligned with the proportions of our little guy here. Okay, so now we have a single USB cable that is not rigged, it's just modeled better. So I'm going to delete all of the red stuff. And all we need to do is rig one of these, because once we rig this single USB cable, we'll be able to place this all over our model inside of Spark AR. Sorry, inside of Lens Studio, because that's what we'll be using today. Now that I think about it, I might want to add one other detail to this model here, and that is just to go across the center, create a little inner extrusion. So we'll do extrude inner, and then, whoa, we got a little break there. And we're just gonna, oh, it broke. There we go. All right, so we're gonna grab all those shapes on the around the outside and extrude. Oh wow, we can't extrude. It's too small to extrude into anything. That was weird. I'll just do it manually then. Just so we have a little like center area for the USB cable to expand into. And then I was going to extrude this into the model. It's kind of unnecessary, detail to add, but it does kind of add more dimensionality to it. All right, so we got all that squared away, and now what we're going to do is start our UV unwrapping process. So I'm going to save this off screen to somewhere. I'm going to go save it to my directories. We're going to call this Psi Helmet. Okay, and then we'll just save it there. Cool, 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 cool. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take all this stuff and start unwrapping it. So let's start off with the most important element, which I would say is this kind of front face mask part. If you see the lighting is kind of distracting, you can go to display, and I can just turn off lighting. So I'm going to go to display with just shading, or no, display with constant shading. That way we aren't distracted with the light information, because we're not doing lighting yet. And then I'm also going to turn on my lines. So there's other ways of viewing stuff. So a couple things to note is, this model here is kind of really dense, but we want to do a calculation of how many polygons are in our scene. So I'm going to grab all the polygons in their faces mode. Display constant shading. There we go. So actually, this is about 43,000 polygons. It's not actually that bad, but it is unnecessary, because this shape, for example, around this back piece here, we don't need. See, what is this? 1,000. We don't need 1,000 polygons. A polygon, by the way, is these things. They're just faces of a piece of geometry. So we don't need 1,000 polygons to define the shape. That's why that's kind of an overkill, so we don't need that many. So what I like to do for these kind of moments is reduce it. So let's reduce it by starting off from a cube. I'm going to scale that cube way down, and then we have a cube. Great. And now to get this curved looking shape out of a cube, the way we do it is using a technique called subdivision modeling. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to move this down here, and I'm going to turn on display quick shading. And what we're going to do is, a cube is pretty flat edges, pretty hard edges and shapes. But if we added a subdivision modifier, which I will show you in a second over here. If we add a subdivision modifier, it's going to smooth out all the edges of the cube. So that's really the same shape, just one is a smoothed out version of the other. And so what we can do with this data is we can add what's called edge loops to our underlying cube, and this will create those nice concave shapes, but have it using it'll be using a lot less polygons to define those same shapes. And that's going to help us when we're inside of an AR program. It's going to help keep the file size light, which is so important. I'm going to go back here and delete some of the extra faces that we don't need, and just delete the bottom there. And then we're going to do a loop selection on the bottom, and then maybe sometimes the tools are a little sensitive. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Cool. And then we're going to grab this front shape thing and just scale it up a little bit if we can, and maybe move it down. So this kind of just creates a more simplified version of the shape that we're going for. And you can see that we can subdivide with less or more polygons. And then when we're ready, we go to connect objects and delete. And that gets rid of the subdivisions. And actually, now I think about it, we don't really need all this stuff on the inside here either. So I'm just going to get rid of all this stuff, because we're not going to see it if it's pressed up against the face of the person wearing it. Again, the reason why we do this is because we want to keep the file sizes small for the people that are using our AR experiences. We don't want to make things too heavy. Next, we're going to add a symmetry tool. The symmetry tool allows us to do just that. We can do work on one side, and then it will apply that symmetrically to the other side. And this lets us, save time and energy. So I'm going to put these new shapes into their proper places, scaling them down and positioning them however we see fit. Then I'm going to copy it, paste it, move the other ones down, scale them down as well. I'm first going to just worry about position. So I'm just going to get the position of all these different cylinders. And then once I'm happy with their position, then I'm going to move to rotation. The reason why we would want to do that is it's just a more efficient way to get a lot of little steps done. We break our steps down into the tiniest steps. We work non-destructively, which is kind of, in a way, reusing much of your work. And so cool. So we place these all the right positions. Good. Now what we're going to do is rotate all these so that they kind of match better with what we had going in. So now we just double click and rotate and adjust, rotate and adjust. And that one looks pretty good. I'll just rotate this one a little bit, maybe adjust its squash. Cool, great. And then we're going to take these shapes from the side and front, copy it, paste it, rotate it 90 degrees, or I guess 45 degrees to aim it forward. And we're going to turn these into the eyes or whatever. I don't know what those are. They kind of look like eyes to me. So I'm just going to place those in there and scale them down, move it forward. Looks like they want to attach together if I get them too close, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to do that, copy, paste, move it on up. Seeing that they are starting to attach again, might need to tweak that a little bit later. Okay, so now that we've kind of placed a more simplified shape in place of all the other more complicated shapes, I like to go to solo mode and make sure that everything's looking clean in solo. If it's not looking too clean in solo, then that will cause problems later. So there we go. So that looks pretty clean in solo. And great, now we're going to see everything. And I'm going to delete all the purple stuff because we don't need it anymore. And now we just reduced our model significantly in file size by doing this. And this is going to allow it to be downloaded faster and not have any lag, all that kind of good stuff. So now instead of using 10,000 polygons to define all the cylinders, we're just using 2,000, which is much, much lighter, which brings the whole total file size. Let's see if we can calculate it now, how many polygons are in here. This is perfect. So now the whole model is about 4,867 polygons, which makes it really tiny, really lightweight, and we won't have as many problems bringing this into AR. Okay, great. We're going to save our work now. That's usually when I would want to save. So I'm just going to make sure we're saving it somewhere preferred. Startup, file, save project as. Oops, I don't know what I clicked. What was that? Oh, I said save incremental. Let me do save project as. Cool, great. All right, so now we're going to do some rigging. Really, really, really basic rigging. So don't get too scared away by rigging. We're going to rig this thing so that we'll be able to animate it later. So how do we rig? What we're going to do is jump into the rigging context inside of Cinema 4D. And I like to switch to flat projections. So we have a flat top-down view and we have a flat front-facing view. I'm going to start off with the flat top-down view. And what we're going to do is grab the character tool known as the joint tool, and we just create joints inside of the band by holding Control, left-clicking to set a joint, and just by clicking through this, cool. So now just by doing all of that, we now have bones that are inside of our cable. This means that when we bring this into Snapchat's Lens Studio later on, we can animate this. We can animate those bones based off of the rotation of the person wearing the filter. So I'm just making sure that the bones are a little bit more aligned inside there. Then we want to see from the top-down view. Looks like we are in luck. It looks like it's perfectly aligned in the front and in the top. So that means our bone system is in there. Now to get the bones to actually do something, so right now if we were to, for example, rotate one of the bones, you'll see that the bones are able to bend, but it's not bending the cable. And the reason why is our bones are not bound to the cable. So to bind your bones, we need to grab all the bones. So I'm going to go grab the first one here, go to grab the last one, and then we grab the geometry that we want to bind it to, which is that cube shape. Okay, so now all of that is a single thing. Actually, now I noticed an important little detail. Uh, these two shapes are separate. Oh wait, this is separate. What is this? Okay, so that's okay. All right, so we just need to bind it to just one. So I'm going to grab all of my bones by holding Shift, and then we're going to hold Control to grab the geometry that we want to bind it to. Then we go to MoGraph. No, then we go to Character, and then we choose the option Bind. Boom. It's going to put this rainbow thing on here. And now these bones are actually influencing the geometry. So if we were to rotate our bones, we're now going to be able to rotate the geometry. The bones are now inherently tied. And we can apply chain physics to this chain of bones to create really cool animations, which we'll be doing soon. All right, let's go ahead and save our work. Great, great, great. All right, so now what we're going to do is start painting. Oh no, we need to do unwrapping. So to unwrap, first we're going to go to our model. We're going to switch it to the UV editor. UVs are coordinates. You can see it, the coordinates right here. The U axis is right here, and the V axis is right here. These UV coordinates are describing the surface of a three-dimensional object. So what I like to do to unwrap stuff is first grab the geometry that I'm trying to unwrap, which in this case I'm going to start off with all the stuff here in orange. We're going to click Set UVs from Projection. Then we can choose what kind of unwrapping we want to do. So these objects are pretty much cylinders. So I'm going to go to the UV commands, or sorry, to the projection commands, and say that these are cylinders. Then we're going to go to the packed algorithm and choose Apply. And what the packed algorithm does is it stacks all of these on top of each other so that different models can be represented at the same time. So it looks like all the shapes that are being highlighted here are being shown here. So those are the eyes, those are the eyes. Now what's really cool about this stacking process is if you do it properly, you can actually, where is this eye? I don't see where this one is. Huh. Let me go to packed algorithm. Okay, it looks like we weren't unwrapping everything. So let me try this again. Let's try packing all of these together. Okay, so this should be everything. And then those are those, and then these are probably the eyes. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so those are the eyes. Cool, and these are the sides of the head. Okay, great. So once you have this kind of data, I like to grab them and then use UV Packer to align these on top of each other. That way we're able to paint more than one model at the same time. It would be great to do this with these 4 front ones so that we only have to paint the eyes one time. So I'm going to see if I can apply that algorithm. There we go. So now all the eyes are being stacked on top of each other in the UV coordinate. And we're doing this because by doing this, we are going to be able to paint one area, but it's going to affect 4 different parts of the model. Why this matters is this gives us more resolution for your model. I guess the more resolution is, it corresponds to how much area your model takes up on the UV islands. These are all the islands. So when we take up more space like this, you're going to get a higher resolution texture on your model. So UV packing is the technical art of kind of arranging these coordinates so that you're making the most out of your polygons without getting too much distortion. I'm going to save my work. I like to save my work after I do each island. Hello, it's going well. We're on YouTube right now doing a stream. Need to get this one out here today. So we're going to do another UV projection, and we're going to do a UV automatic unwrap. And there is our USB coordinate. So that one's nicely unwrapped. Next, we're going to go to this mess. Looks like there's 2 UVs on top of each other. We're going to get rid of both of them. Okay, so we're going to grab the front of the mask here, do a UV from projection, and then we're going to do a packed algorithm. Now this looks like it did not unwrap very nicely. And how I know that, or how I'm deciding that, is based off of the seams. The seams are where we're going to see problems. So you see how it puts seams down the middle of the face? The seams are in white. Those aren't that great. So what we want to do when this happens is keep trying different methods of unwrapping your model. So I'm going to try a cubic I'm going to try an angular. None of these are looking good. How about cylinder or a cube or a sphere? Yikes, all these are not looking too hot. So when this happens, what I like to do is maybe unwrap it manually. So what I'm going to do is just define a seam, which I'm going to say is probably just the center line. And I'm just going to divide the model in half here. And I'll just be really careful not to put too many textures down the center of the model that have a repeating pattern, because any repeating pattern is going to be visible as a glitch if we don't align things nicely. But I'm just going to put the seams right here, and now try to use the UV unwrap, and now we're just splitting the model in half, and I think that'll be fine. Okay, let's go to the next part. We got the lower jaw thing, whatever this is. We're going to select that. Go to the bottom half, looks good, and we're going to do a set UV from projection, try the packed algorithm. That actually looks perfectly fine, so I'm going to leave that alone. And then last we have these. We're going to go to UV projection, use the automatic unwrap, and that looks pretty good too. All right, so great. So now we have a texture for all these different areas, and that means our UVs are done for each of these sections. And with the UVs complete, we can go to the painting process. Be careful of this. When you have two UV maps on top of each other, they will override. So I just deleted the extra. And I think our model is ready to be painted. Yeah, this thing is ready to be painted. It's rigged. The geometry is looking clean. So I'm going to save my work. And now we're going to export the whole model into another program. I also like to just sometimes add a few different names to the colors in here. So I'm going to call this one jaw, and then we'll call this one head, and then I'll call this one neck, and then we'll call this one I'll call it cylinders or sin. So we're going to apply these to each of these color groups so that it's easy to see our model later on in the next program. All right, so now that's all good. Oh, I think we're just missing the USB cable. So let me just add a texture for that, apply it to our model, give it a different color code just so that the program doesn't mix it up. And we're going to call this one USB. All right, so now everything's good. We have our model rigged. We have it ready to be painted. We can save our work. And now I'm going to go to File. Oops. I'm going to go to Standard. And now we can export our model. Again, we are live streaming onto YouTube right now. So I think that's going to be pretty helpful for people to learn from in the future. So yeah, live your work. Live your work. It's live streamed right now on YouTube. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and export this as an OBJ file. And I'm going to save this right to the same spot that we were before. And now we're going to open up Adobe Substance 3D Painter. It's hard to say. They changed the name of the program. So this is the program I'm using to paint my models. This is one of the most powerful 3D texturing software that exists. So I love it. We're going to go ahead and go to File, New, and we're going to bring in our model. So I'm going to look for our thingy. It's on there. There it is. Hit Open. And guess what? Snapchat just doubled the size that they allow for Instagram, or they doubled the size for AR filters. So I'm going to go to 2K resolution so that we can get a super high quality texture into here. So we're going to hit OK. And then here we are. We're inside of Substance Painter, and we have our model ready to be painted. I'm going to start off by going to the Edit, Bake Mesh Maps. This is a way to bake a high resolution texture into your model for free. That gives you ambient occlusion, it gives you normal maps, it gives you world face normals, it gives you position, thickness, IDs, all that kind of stuff is really helpful to get early on, and you'll be able to use procedural texture painting if you do a baked mesh map in the beginning. Okay, sometimes I run into issues with the baked mesh maps. See how that one got like really dark right there? That's because I stacked my UVs, so all the eyeballs are in here somewhere. So sometimes I go to my texture set and I still just, I'm going to go to the eye cylinders and I'm just going to delete the ambient occlusion because sometimes that just causes some problems. So now our model is ready to be painted procedurally. I'm going to go ahead and start off with some metals. We're going to go with some iron raw. I'm going to apply that to the front mask here. I'm seeing a pretty bad seam down the center. I think that's because of the height map. So if I turn off the height map, we can reduce that. We can also apply different materials. So let me try a plastic or something. Might look kind of cool in here, like the gloss on there. I'm going to go with the plastic on the bottom. Let's try some iron gridded there and go to some iron raw over there. Actually, I'm going to go with maybe some nickel material over there. And then I'm going to use a glass shader that I like to use. It's inside of the all textures. So I'm just going to search for glass and apply the glass visor to the eyeballs. If you're not seeing the glass, that is okay. We can sometimes get glass to appear better inside of Snapchat's tools. All right, I'm going to do some fiberglass maybe for the top here. Let's try fiberglass green. I don't like that for the front. Let's try this instead. Okay, cool. Looking pretty. I'm going to go to look for some metal now. And we're going to apply some aluminum into here. And by the way, this is a procedural texturing software. So this allows you to do some pretty advanced stuff, really advanced stuff. I'm just throwing on some just blanket colors just to get started, but this isn't where I'm going to end. You know, I like to kind of start here and then build up from there. Okay, so cool. We got some nice textures on here. I'm going to go to the head layer and start customizing this a bit more. So we're going to go to the plastic gloss. I'm going to throw that on top of here, and we're going to add a black mask. Then on this black mask, we're going to use a procedural generator known as the UV borders. And this way we can add a nice stripe onto our mask, almost as if it was painted or something. That's an idea, just one idea. We can play with the distance. We can also invert it so that it's painting on the outside here. We can go to our smoothness. We can go to our distance, creating some different textures, just different ideas. I don't know if I'm feeling the blue color per se, so I'm going to go to that blue diffuse and change it up. Maybe we'll go with some like red paint. Maybe go a little bit deeper red, less diffuse. We got a lot of gloss on there. Okay, that's one option. I'm going to remove that generator. I changed my mind about it, so I'm going to just remove the mask, add a new black mask. We can also just paint onto here manually. So if I wanted to paint a very specific design, and if we turn on something like our symmetry, sometimes the symmetry line needs to be moved. So I'm going to slide the symmetry line to our x-axis. And then with the symmetry line over here, there we go. Now wherever we paint on one side, we'll see reflected onto the other. It's a little hard to see the red on red, so maybe we'll paint with a purple paint for now. And if you hold shift, you can create straight lines that are pretty cool. So I'm just going to create my own little design here. And we can always change our colors later on. So I'm going to go with maybe a dark purple and just start creating a nice cyber design onto the helmet. Just going in and holding shift to create these straight lines. Cool. And then we can go with our eraser brush, and we can use this to erase hard edges onto the design. Cool. Next, I'm going to go to our paint and add a height map. The height map will be used to push this model in or out. So by adding a height map, you can see that this creates depth. We can actually push our paint into the model and give it a different color or do whatever we want with it. Okay. Question, if you're starting out in 3D program and want to sell NFT, is that possible? Yes. Yeah, you can totally sell NFTs from stuff that you make in 3D programs, for sure. It's actually quite fun to do that. Okay, cool. So I like this purple and this texture. I'm not sure if I'm feeling the head color anymore, so I'm going to go to the head color, and I guess the copper color. See, there's my base metal, and I'm going to play with the copper metal color. Ooh, the purple looks kind of cool. So does the blue, and yellow looks interesting. I don't know. Keep playing with the colors. We can almost go with a gold yellow, a golden or a silver. That's kind of interesting too. You can go a lot of different directions with that. I'm gonna maybe play with the specularity, change the color of the specular highlights. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw on some machinery onto here, and I'm gonna remove the machine yellow just so we get that nice rust to build up around the edges of the model. We can go to that rust layer and actually age the material up from this. So I'm going to go to my mask editor and increase the strength, the global contrast of our rust, and we can kind of change the age of our model. Next, I'm going to go to the jaw and apply some fine rust to it. It's actually gross. How about bronze armor? It's kind of interesting. Maybe some copper. No. How about iron old? No, it looks too worn down. I could see maybe. Let's see, what is that? No. Okay. Next thing I want to do is add some more colors to the eyes. So I threw on a red paint. I'm going to add a black mask on top of there, and then we're going to remove the red from the mask. So just by going in here and just adding some paint lines. Oh, it's weird. It's not. I don't see my paint showing up. What's going on? I have a mask. Why won't I see paint? Try this again. We add a new fill layer. I'm going to fill this with red. Add a black mask to the model, and then fill that. So strange. It's not letting me fill this model with texture. Huh. Not sure. Not sure what that's about. I have to do with the shader settings that we have in here. Switch this to, I think Lens Studio had one in here for a while, so I can find their shading network. I didn't just get rid of everything. I just make a big mistake by switching the shading network. Oh no. Might have just lost some stuff. Let me go to edit bake mesh maps and just bake a 1K map in there. See if we can get our colors back. Oh, I don't know what I did wrong, but we definitely messed up something. It happens. Sometimes I get lost in it. But the idea is you make this model, you paint it, you'd be happy with this painted model. I'm bummed that I just lost all that though. But that is the way it works. Trying to undo. I guess I can just reapply materials, but why is it just not showing any color whatsoever? Is there a different preset that I need to be on? Let's try this one. Oh, there we go. Whew. Thank goodness. Okay, we got it back. Okay, what I was trying to do was add a paint layer on top of the eyes, but I don't know if it's responding very well to that. So, anywho, I'll just put the eyes in here. Okay, there we go. So it just gives us some interesting light situations. And with that layer, we can also add a height map to that. So that will push the light into the model like that. So now we get this impression that was pushed into there. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So let's say we were happy with this. Oh, I wanted to do the USB cable. I almost forgot. Let me throw on some aluminum. And then let's throw on some bronze. That looks pretty sweet. Maybe we'll do aluminum right at the end of it. So I'm going to add a black mask and then just paint the aluminum onto the end of the USB cable. You can also, if you don't like painting like this, you can also drag rectangles out in there. This can sometimes be a better way of painting certain objects by just masking out the whole area that needs the color. Okay, so we got some questions I've been missing. Don't forget to save PureRef. This looks good. The blue one. Oh, you said the blue one looks good. Hey, what's up, Edwin? Thanks for joining me on YouTube. You said the blue looks better. We can go with blue. Let me go back to the head layer. Go to that metal base material, wherever it was, and you're saying blue felt better in there. Blue does look pretty sweet. I do like the blue, but then I might want to change the purple thing. So right now it's purple. We can make it a different color. Ooh, black. This looks kind of cool. Oh, thank you so much. So I think we're ready to bring this into Lens Studio, which will be pretty sweet. We're going to be able to wear this. And then I'm going to show you in the next steps how we're going to use chain physics to animate the USB cable. And we'll make a bunch of USB cables and we'll just paste them onto the head. And then we'll see. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to save it. And I'm just going to save that into the same project file. I'm going to call this helmet. There we go. Save that. Great. All right, now what we're going to do is go to File, Export, Textures. And we want to change a couple of things. We want to change the global preset. So they have an output template. We're going to change it to, near the top, it says Lens Studio. This is going to prepare all of your textures in the ideal format for Snapchat. We also want to go and be careful about our file sizes. So right now I went kind of ham and I made all of these 2K resolution. That might be a little too heavy. So what I'm going to do now is just look at what areas don't really need that level of resolution. For example, the eyeballs. I don't need that level of resolution. I'm going to drop that resolution down to like 512. Then the head, I do want to have a lot of resolution there. I'm going to leave that alone. The jaw does not need to be 2K. I'm going to drop that to 1024. The neck definitely doesn't need to be 2K. We're going to drop that to 1024. And the USB cable does not need to be 2048. We can definitely get away with 512. This is called texture optimization. It's when we look at our textures and we have to just be realistic with ourselves and say, do we really need all that resolution? And I usually measure it based off of how large the object is or how close I anticipate the user is going to be to that thing. So I don't think they're going to be that close to the USB cable, so I can justify a lower resolution. All right, so with all that set and done, we're going to just go to our output and make sure it's outputting to the right spot. Great, I'm going to make a new folder and call this ready to go. And select that folder and export. Oh, it says error during export. See the logs. What happened? Bitmaps, right, finalization. Whoa. That's weird. I actually have never gotten an error exporting before. I don't see what the problem is looking at this. It got it got all 5. It had troubles with the bitmap writing. That's awkward. Wow. Okay. No worries. When this happens, I'm going to switch it to something else. Let's try GLTF. It's another great format for AR that I love to use. And I'm going to hit export. Yay! It worked. All right, so we can open this up. I'm going to go to the output directory and make sure we got all of the data that we need. Look at that data. Look at all that data. I'm going to go to view, extra large icons. So we have all those different textures added. We have our GLTF files. Great. So now we're going to open up Lens Studio. And look at that. I already had it open up because guess what? There's a chain physics template that you can use. That so to get to this, you'd go to File, New Project from Template, and go to All. And then you could get the same template that I'm using by going to Chain Physics. Cool. So right now they have a template person in here. She's got a butterfly, not butterfly. Wow. It's got a flower on her head, and this flower has chain physics added to it. So we're going to do the same. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our model. Oh, I just realized an error I made. What I should do is I should bring the chain in separately. So yeah, I'm going to copy this real quick, delete it, paste it, and just delete it again for fun. And then I'm going to save this model out. So go to export, export as an object, blah, 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 blah. Looks good. And I'm going to call this, no, I'll be friendlier. I'll call this blah, blah, blah 1. And we'll save blah, blah, blah 1. And then what we can do is in Substance Painter, you can do auto replace, which is pretty sweet. It works like this. You just grab your model. Hold up, where is it? I'm going to grab blah, blah, blah 1 and just drag it right on top, and you can redirect and override your model, but you can preserve all your painting. All that one's going to be doing is like repainting the model with all of our stuff, but the main difference is it doesn't have that USB cable, which is important. So I'm now going to go to File, Export Textures. We're going to choose that GLTF format, make sure that the file sizes are happy. That looks pretty good. I'm going to keep that. Great. And then we're going to go to our output. I'm going to change the output from ready to go, call this one only underscore helmet. Great, and we'll export that out. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Now we go back to Cinema 4D, and we're going to bring in that chain, whatever this thing is. And this one I'm going to delete the helmet, but we're going to take this chain thingy, bob, and recenter it into our scene. Somehow. There it is. All right, so now that we have that done, we're going to File, Export, OBJ. And we're going to bring this one and just call this, make a folder for this, call this only USB. And we'll name that USB. Great, and then we're going to bring that USB cable into Substance Painter. So I'm going to go to USB and close that. Little redundant steps there. Sorry about that. Cool, it's going to repaint it. Awesome, we get our thing. It's repainted right now, so we are happy. Oh, I didn't paint the bottom. Happy we checked that. Let's go ahead and paint the bottom as well. Or let's just do that same trick as before. Okay, USB cable is painted. Then we're going to go to File, Export Textures, and I'll just keep that as the GLTF. We might just change that resolution down to 512 and save this into the USB folder and hit export. Whew, a lot of steps, almost done. We're going to go back to Cinema 4D one more time, and this time we're going to extract just the rig, the bone. So I'm going to go to File, Export, and choose the FBX format, because FBX can remember stuff like animation, it can remember stuff like splines, and it can remember bones. I don't need cameras, so I'm going to turn off cameras, and I don't need lights, but we want to remember all the other stuff, and we'll hit OK. I'm going to save this into USB and call this one rig, and we'll save it. Great, now we're going to jump into Lens Studio. Here we are, we're back into Lens Studio. And now what we're going to do is bring it all together. First off, we're going to bring in our helmet. So I'm going to go to our objects in our whatever scene, go to the only helmet, and I see our GLTF or our GLB file. I forgot which one works better in Lens Studio. I'll just try one of them. So let's drag the GLTF Let's see what we get. It says some data where you want to import anything. I'm happy with that. We're going to hit import. You're not going to see anything yet because this is kind of like where all your resources go. But if you want to see them actually happen in AR, they have to be up in this object section. So there's a preset in here. It came with a head binding. That's how we're able to bind something to the head. And right now there's shadows are being bound to the head, which is pretty cool. But what I want to do is I want to bind my helmet. So I'm going to go to my object and just drag this right into head binding and put it right there. Cool. So now our helmet is in there. But it doesn't have any of our textures. So I think maybe GLTF was the wrong one. Let me try this again. I'm going to delete the GLTF one, and I'm going to try the GLB version and just bring that in, hit import. It's loading. And then we're going to expand it out. Oh, wow. I see a lot of stuff loading in there. We're going to expand it out so that we just have the P for prefab. And we're going to drag that in as a child of the head binding. Okay, neither of these had materials. Bummer. But that's okay. I will still just work. I'll work with it. All right, that didn't work. So silly me. Let me delete some stuff. So I'm going to grab all this, just delete everything from the resources panel, and bring up the GLTF one more time. A little redundant, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Okay, here we go. So we're going to bring this in. We're going to go to our helmet material and bring that to the head binding. Awesome. Now we can grab our helmet and grab this global position thing, and we can start positioning it better onto the person's actual head. So I'm going to grab the whole object and just bring that on down, and I'm also going to scale it down. And then we're going to move it on up and just kind of, play it by ear. We want to see if we can get this to fit as nicely as we can on the face. That's looking pretty good. Next, we're going to get those textures in there because we have all those pretty materials that we spent time on. And we want to see those. We want to see those materials. I'm not sure why it didn't come. I don't know why it didn't come with all the materials loaded up. Normally it does. So it looks like we will have to manually reassign those, but it's okay. We have, it's so interesting. It's so interesting that we actually have all the textures are in there and everything. It's just they just did not. I don't know. I don't know why it didn't bring everything in. Also, I only see the normals and the roughness. I don't see any of the materials that are color based. We might have made a mistake somewhere. Let me undo. Can I undo before I import this? Oh, no, I can't. Let me think about this. Might have made another boo-boo here. The boo-boo is that I might have only checked a few of the data points to be coming out of this. So let's try this again. I'm going to bring this in here, see if we still have those textures. Okay, so good. We still have all our textures. Oh, this is before we did the blue though. Edit, redo ID, Control Y. There we go. All right, so we got the blue version back. So I'm going to go to export our textures, and let me see what happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it didn't export everything. It only exported like a normal map and a roughness map, but we definitely need more data than that. So weird. Very weird. This one looks like we'll have all the colors in there. Yeah, I see all the data that I need, and the sizes are too large again. So we'll simplify this. So this one was better at 512, I think, or I'll do 1024. We'll do the head at that. The jaw will be at 512, and the neck will be at 1024. Okay. Hmm. Just running into some issues here. So let's just try this one more time. Ah, okay. I don't know what's going on, but I think we're only going to be able to export the textures the old-fashioned way, which is I'm going to choose something like um, maybe this one up in the near the top where it's called where is it? PBR metal roughness. This one kind of has all the main ones that you might want to use for everything. So I'm going to see if I have any luck exporting that. There we go. Okay. So now we at least have all of our textures. Oh, weird. It's doing the same problem. It's only exporting roughness and normal maps. It's not exporting any. We're not getting color out of there. Dang it. Well, okay. Normally, things work smoothly, but we are running into some issues here. Right now, we are making a filter that lets you wear this robot head, but for whatever reason, all my painted materials are not coming through. Uh, I made some. I think I made a glitch early on in the painting program, so I don't know if I can fix that here. But what we can at least do is rig the wires. So let's do that. And also, to be honest, you can do quite a lot of the material design right inside of um, Lens Studio. So I can go to the base color here and just start playing with these properties inside of Lens Studio. And this is a big deal because, like, I'm gonna say glass. All right, so now this has glass properties, and now I'm gonna put like a colored glass in here, tinted glass, and it's set to backface culling. Let me turn on alpha so we can maybe see through it. Vertex color is base color. Whoa, emissive. And we have ambient occlusions. I'm just going to do base color. I'm going to turn on reflections. Yeah, I guess you know what, we'll just do our material design right inside of Lens Studio. That also works too. There's a lot of different ways to achieve different looks and effects. If I turn on the lighting filter and turn on specular, we'll get this nice reflective material right inside of Lens Studio. How nice is that? It's right there. And then we can even play with things like our metallic parameter and our roughness parameter. And I guess the convenience factor to doing it this way is you get all the access of Lens Studio's performance, in one package. So let's go to the head layer, and I think we had a blue head. It was looking pretty cool, so we're gonna grab a blue color, and then I'm gonna go to my lighting. I'm gonna do rim lighting, and we'll just go with a nice cyan material for the rim, and then we'll change that exponent so it becomes very much like a harsh edge, and that kind of gives us like a glowing mask look. You can play with that intensity slider to have how much influence that has. So you can actually do quite a lot of your shading in real time with Lens Studio. So that's something to not overlook. I'm going to go back to the eyeball layer. I'm going to go to the rim lighting for those and give that some rim light. I'm going to maybe do a red rim light, play with that exponent scale, and increase that intensity so it creates a nice, I don't know, phosphorus look. Great. We can also invert things too if you wanted to get that red light in the center. Actually, that looks really cool. Cool. I might play with the intensity a bit, or no, maybe play with the exponent a bit to sharpen that edge up. Okay, great. And then we're going to go to the jaw, and for the jaw, same idea. We're going to just give this like a black, a gray chrome, and we'll give it some nice metallic shading. We turn on our lighting and diffuse. Specular ambient occlusion looks fine. Looks good. And then we'll go to the neck, and I'll just copy that same idea. We're just going to grab like a dark blackish, grayish material. Oops, let's try that again. All right, great. So we just added a bunch of procedural paint right inside of Lens Studio. and you can see how it's already tracking in real time. We can also switch this camera to yourself. So I'm going to switch it to me if I can. It might not work because I'm live streaming to YouTube right now, so I'm wondering if I can't use that. I can't use I can't use the same camera twice, but it's worth trying. So I'm gonna try that now. If I can find my camera. Okay, so it recognizes my camera, but I don't think it's gonna let me use it in two places. So scratch that idea. We're gonna go back to not doing that. Okay, cool. So let's add some chain physics to the USB cable. So to do that, we're going to first bring in that rigged USB cable by going to our objects and finding it. So I called that USB, and then I called it rig. I'm just going to bring the USB rig in there. Buna says, I saw an Indian creator who takes baked octane textures and imports into Lens Studio. Oh yeah, you can definitely bring in baked textures into this program. The results are stunning. I would highly recommend that route as well. If you can bake your lighting into an object that doesn't need to have changed lighting, it will look exponentially better in AR. Okay, so we got the rig in there. I'm gonna now bring in my rig and bring it right to the head binding. There we go. So now we have this rig that I don't see. Where is it? Is it really small or something? Or is it really big? I don't see my model. What is that? What is this? I don't see it. Okay, I think I made a mistake again with the rig because I don't see my rig. Well, what to do there? I'm going to delete this and go back to Cinema 4D and see why didn't my rig work. I was trying to export this model. Is it bound? Yeah, it's bound. Yeah, our model is rigged. So why can't I bring it? Let me try this one more time. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to call this USB. And I like the naming. Everything looks like it's named properly. So I'm going to select everything this time and go to File, Export, and I'm going to choose FBX because that keeps the skeleton usually. Yeah, keeping the skeleton. I don't need any animation on there, but I want my joint chains. All right, I'm going to save this again, see if we can get this to work. USB rig number 2. Then add it to the head binding. Import outside head binding first. Oh, okay, good idea. Let's try that first. So let's go back into Lens Studio. We're going to import it into our thing. I'm going to delete rig 1 because that one was not doing it. And we're going to go into our USB and bring in our USB rig number 2. Bring it into Lens Studio. And I think I've got everything checked on that I would like it to have. Hit import. Okay. I see the mesh. Yeah, I see the mesh. And do I see the skeleton? Huh. Buna says imported outside head binding first. Okay. I mean, it is imported outside the head binding first. But are you saying just bring it right into the camera, like right underneath the camera? Let's see. I brought it in. I don't see anything there yet. Maybe it's in here. Oh, there it is. It's at the center. Okay, we're good. We're good. I found it. It's at the center of the scene. So with that all set up, we're going to now bring that object underneath the head binding. But first, we want to maybe get it a little bit closer to the head of the character. So I'm going to move my USB cable really close to that object. We'll hit F to focus in on it. Weird, it's not letting me focus in on the USB. Keeps leaving the frame. Okay, well, I'm going to try to drag this to the head binding here. Okay, so now it should be bound, but now it's missing again. I don't see our USB cable. Let me undo a couple of times until we can see it again. Okay, I think I see it. I go to the USB. There it is. Yeah, I see it right there. It's just really, really, really tiny. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the scaling is it might be scaled way too small. So let's just 10x it in all of the different dimensions. That way we can see it better, hopefully, when we're applying it. All right, so now I'm going to apply this to the head binding. And then I think we can move this to the head. There we go. Yay, it's working. I see it next to it. So it was just too small. Yeah, even 10x is too small. I probably might need 100x this thing. 100x the size. Yeah, because this is a really, really tiny asset. So let's go to that scale and add another 0. 100 tab, 100 tab, 100. Okay, there we go. So now it's huge here. And then we could scale it down and attach it to the head. Okay, it just still looks kind of small. Yeah, that's a little frustrating that it scales down so tiny like that when you're in the middle of it, but it's working now, and I guess I just got to be grateful for that. So I'm just going to extend it to be a little bit bigger again. Awesome, awesome. And now I'm just going to go to that USB texture, and we're going to start rigging in here with the chain physics. So the way we do this is we first add our prefab, and then we go to add component. I'm going to add the scripting component. Then we're going to add a script known as the chain controller. In the chain controller, we want to add a new value for every single one of the chains in the rig. So I'm going to expand out the object by right-clicking and going to expand all. These are all the different joints that make up the model. And what we're going to do is just one by one rig it together. So I'm going to grab my USB object, and then we're going to add a value. So I'm going to add a value, and each value is going to be, I basically need to add 18 of them because I have 18 joints in the rigging here. So I'm going to add 18 different bones in here. Just clicking through. It's a little tedious, but it's okay. Just 18 clicks. And then we're going to drag each one of these bones into one of the controls. And we're just going one by one. It's a manual process, but you want to basically grab every bone that you've made in your rigging and apply them to one of the values inside of the chain controller. And only once the very last chain is added, it will turn on, and you'll have chain physics added to a rigged thing inside of Lens Studio. So we're almost done. I got 16 and 17 and 18. I will delete the last one. And look at that. Now we have chain physics is applied to that thing. And now we can play with the values. So I'm going to reduce the time scale by 0.2 degrees. Okay, so it's a little bit more wavy. And then play with the stiffness. We can play with the force amount, so I can reduce the forces or increase it. We want it to fall. Maybe play with the iterations and play with the elasticity of it. Okay, so we're just kind of playing with the chain physics right now of our object. It looks like the value is a little slow. Let me see if we do 0.02. There we go. So we get this nice little motion in there. We can turn on relative forces. And we can say relative to the head of the person. Go to camera, head binding, and just make it relative to the head. There we go. So now we got some nice forces added there. And I think we're done. So there you go. There isn't a drag slider so much for me. The only values I have is stiffness, iterations, time, speed, force, and rotation. I haven't found a better script for the drag yet, but usually reducing the time is the equivalent of reducing the drag for me. So there we go. Also, we can increase the iterations. Don't know what that's doing. I can also maybe reduce the upward force. and maybe just give it some downward force. So let's do a -3 value down in the X, in the Y axis actually. Looks like it's still pretty bouncy. If we go rigid body and then turn down the stiffness, oh, we lost it. Yeah, I wish there was a drag amount. That would be sweet, because then it would be like Blender or Cinema 4D. But I didn't have that feature. But cool, we have a thing that's kind of working. The speed's a little insane, but you know, this is usually how I work. It's just kind of poking at it and making little changes, and then observing the net effect of what happens when you make these little changes. So we have our stiffness set to, I guess, 0.9 here. This is 0.6, 0.1. Oh, and that's way too high. So let's turn that down. It almost looks like it's like springing action. He says play with the iterations. Okay, let's play with the iterations. Can I do iterations that aren't whole numbers? Can I put a value of like 0.4? Okay, no, it looks like it only takes whole numbers. Yeah, I wish I understood iterations a bit better, but I don't. It's like the upward force is pretty strong now. But there you have it, folks. That is how you could go about making a Snapchat filter. I'm going to get rid of the flower on the head because that's distracting. I'm just going to turn that off. And then what I was going to do once I was happy with the USB, I'm not happy with it, but once I was going to be happy with the physics in there, we would go to that USB and we can give it a different material. So I can grab like a material from earlier, like the head material, and apply it there. And then we can also then duplicate this. So I can right click and hit duplicate, and then we can place the duplicates at different spots on the head. At least that was what my plan was going to be if I got happy with the way the physics was coming out. But I'm not totally thrilled with the physics in this. So, you know, mixed bag of feelings there. But that's how we would go about making this wired system. And then I think you would still have to go back to each one and adjust parameters about them. So I'm just going to change the stiffness of that one and reduce the iterations, turn off rotation. And so you can see that will give us multiple bands. And so you would do this. No, there's not a mass attribute. I know everything you're saying is speaking to me, Buna. These are the only parameters I can play with on this particular script. We got stiffness, type, iterations, time, speed, force. I wish I can get it to look more like it's underwater. If you find a script that makes it more underwater-like, please send it my way. But yeah, that would be it. And that's all. So thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube. This was a switch up, you know, doing a live stream on YouTube to get that resolution out there, better audio quality, better, you know, you can see where I'm clicking. Things for next time, if somebody can find a software that lets you show what buttons I'm clicking on the screen and highlights my mouse cursor on clicks, I think that will be a really helpful educational tool. If you want to send, if you know of any software that lets you stream, but it shows on screen what you're typing and lets you show on screen where you're clicking, I think that'll be really helpful. So please send that my way. And if anyone finds a script that is better at creating elastic bodies in like underwater looks, I'm also looking for that. So I'll take a look for those. I saw these attributes only in closed simulation script. Oh, actually might be a good approach if I find a closed simulation script. That would be pretty sweet. I'm going to try to get this running now on the webcam. So let me see if I can turn off my webcam here and then open up the camera here and see if I can get this running on my camera. OBS snap camera. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. So now I can wear it and test it out myself. So you can see that we got good head rotations. You know, it sticks with us. And then, once you have that, then you can start playing with the elasticity of it. You can start playing with that simulation and start playing with the iterations and seeing, like, that actually feels a little bit better with the iterations. Can even play the stiffness. Whoa. Yeah, I'm just moving around, testing out the physics on this thing here. But that is pretty much it. This was the secret sauce behind the rig, and it's fun. You make a couple of these, and then you have some professional looking filters with some cool physics that take into account, your real body motions. So that's all. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next one.